Hi, boys and girls. Welcome back to Bedtime Stories. Tonight's actually our last night of reading about Frog and Toad. So I have 2 chapters left in my Frog and Toad book, and then we'll be moving on to another adventure in a different book tomorrow. All right, so this first chapter that I'm reading is called The Surprise. It was October. The leaves had fallen off the trees. They were lying on the ground. "I will go to Toad's house," said Frog. "I will rake all of the leaves that have fallen on his lawn. Toad will be surprised." Frog took a rake out of the garden shed. Toad looked out his window. "These messy leaves have covered everything," said Toad. He took a rake out of the closet. "I will run over to Frog's house. I will rake all of his leaves. Frog will be very pleased." Frog ran through the woods so that Toad would not see him. Toad ran through the high grass so that Frog would not see him. Frog came to Toad's house. He looked in the window. "Good," said Frog. "Toad is out. He will never know who raked his leaves." Toad got to Frog's house. He looked in the window. "Good," said Toad. "Frog is not home. He will never guess who raked his leaves." Frog worked hard. He raked the leaves into a pile. Soon Toad's lawn was clean. Frog picked up his rake and started home. Toad pushed and pulled on the rake. He raked the leaves into a pile. Soon there was not a single leaf in Frog's front yard. Toad took his rake and started home. A wind came. It blew across the land. The pile of leaves that Frog had raked for Toad blew everywhere. The pile of leaves that Toad had raked for Frog blew everywhere. When Frog got home, he said, "Oh, tomorrow I will clean up the leaves that are all over my own lawn." How surprised Toad must be. When Toad got home, he said, "Tomorrow I will get to work and rake all my own leaves." How surprised Frog must be. That night, Frog and Toad were both happy when they each turned out the light and went to bed. I love that story because they're both so happy that they did a good deed. They don't realize, though, that they didn't know that they did the good deed because the wind came anyway. But it's a good feeling to do something nice for a friend. Let's see, the last chapter is called Christmas Eve. On Christmas Eve, Toad cooked a big dinner. He decorated the tree. "Frog is late," said Toad. Toad looked at his clock. He remembered it was broken. The hands of the clock did not move. Toad opened the front door. He looked out into the night. Frog was not there. "I am worried," said Toad. "What if something terrible has happened?" said Toad. "What if Frog has fallen deep into a hole and cannot get out? I will never see him again." Toad opened the door once more. Frog was not on the path. "Oh, what if Frog is lost in the woods?" said Toad. "What if he is cold and wet and hungry?" "What if Frog is being chased by a big animal with many sharp teeth? Oh, what if he's being eaten up?" cried Toad. "My friend and I will never have another Christmas together." Toad found some rope in the cellar. "I will pull Frog out of the hole with this," said Toad. Toad found a lantern in the attic. "Frog will see this light. I will show him the way out of the woods," said Toad. Toad found a frying pan in the kitchen. "I will hit that big animal with this," said Toad. "All of his teeth will fall out." "Frog, do not worry," cried Toad. "I am coming to help you." Toad ran out of his house. There was Frog. "Hello, Toad," he said. "I'm very sorry to be late. I was wrapping your present." "You are not at the bottom of a hole?" asked Toad. "No," said Frog. "You are not lost in the woods?" asked Toad. "No," said Frog. "You are not being eaten by a big animal?" asked Toad. "No," said Frog. "Not at all." "Oh, Frog," said Toad, "I am so glad to be spending Christmas with you." Toad opened his present from Frog. It was a beautiful new clock. The two friends sat by the fire. The hands of the clock moved to show the hours of a merry Christmas Eve. And in the words of Toad, "Oh, drat, we are done with this book." So this was a really good one. After you finish a book, there's a couple of things you can always do, especially since we're home in this very weird situation. You could write your own Frog and Toad story. You could draw your own Frog and Toad picture. You could always write to me or draw me a picture of your favorite story that was in this book. We heard a lot of them. And decorate it. It's always a nice thing to do after you finish a book. That way you remember that story for years to come. So if you get a chance, if you have this book at home, you might want to read it on your own now that you've heard it, or you can always come onto YouTube and listen to my stories again. Tomorrow night we will start Mercy Watson number 5. We finished numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the classroom. So I have 5 and 6 here, and we will read those. If you have them at home, that's great. You can read along with us. Doesn't matter if you've already read them. The great thing about a good book is you can hear it over and over and over again. So yeah, get ready. And make sure you're reading on your own still, because Mrs. McGee reading to you is not helping your reading brain learn more words. So I miss you and I love you, and sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite, and I'll see you tomorrow. There's no place like home.